You've probably pictured it right. I mean, if you're stepping into a world completely dominated by master swordsmen, ruthless assassins, syndicates that just control these massive empires from the shadows.
All right, you naturally assume the ultimate weapon is something you can actually hold in your hand.
Exactly. You picture like a razor-sharp blade forged from some rare meteoritic iron just gleaming in the moonlight. Or maybe a cleverly engineered dart, right? Something spring-loaded, laced with some incredibly exotic, totally incurable poison.
Because it makes sense. I mean, we instinctively equate lethality with the physical properties of the hardware itself. It's just human nature to look for a tangible threat.
Yeah, we want to see what's coming at us.
Exactly. We want a danger we can see, that we can measure and quantify. Like if an enemy is holding a massive sword, you know exactly what the threat is.
Yeah.
You know how far its reach extends.
But what if I told you that the most devastating weapon in this incredibly brutal landscape isn't made of steel or wood or, poison?
Oh, this is the best part.
Right. What if the deadliest thing a person could possibly wield to bring down an entire empire of hardened killers is literally just a simple, perfectly timed smile?
It's a wild concept.
It is. And conversely, what if the ultimate, absolutely unstoppable superweapon that everyone in this martial arts world is utterly terrified of?
The one people will literally bankrupt themselves to own.
Yes. What if that weapon is at its core nothing more than a psychological crutch?
It completely shatters the illusion of where power actually resides. I mean, it takes the battlefield totally out of the physical world, out of the realm of muscles and steel, and places it squarely inside the human mind.
And that is exactly what we are unpacking on today's deep dive. We are stepping into a universe created by the celebrated author Gulong, specifically looking at some fascinating excerpts from his interconnected tales, The Longevity Sword and the Peacock Plume.
Such incredible source material.
Seriously. And for those of you listening who might not be super familiar, this is the wuxia genre. So think of wuxia as this great Chinese literary tradition of martial heroes. It's a world of, wandering swordsmen, deep honor codes, and almost superhuman physical abilities.
But Gulong does something really different with it. He uses this genre not just to write cool action scenes, though there were plenty of those, but as a philosophical landscape to dissect human psychology.
Yeah, the mission today is to extract those deep psychological nuggets hidden beneath all the thrilling assassin stuff, because he uses these exaggerated life and death stakes to magnify the very real psychological drivers that govern all of us.
Oh, totally. Our ego, our desperate need for connection, how susceptible we are to deception, and our really deep-seated insecurities.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to set the stage first, because this world isn't just a chaotic free-for-all. This entire landscape is essentially ruled from the shadows by this mysterious, omnipresent syndicate.
The Azure Dragon Society.
The Azure Dragon Society. And when I say syndicate, I really don't mean a local street gang. This is an organization with 365 branches.
Which is so symbolic, right? One for every day of the year. It basically implies that there is no day, no single moment, where their influence isn't being felt.
Their reach is just absolute. They hold the ultimate monopoly on violence, on trade, power, everything. If you cross them, you don't just die, you disappear.
You're erased.
Yeah, exactly. So we enter our first scenario at dusk at a place called the Wind and Cloud Inn.
Dusk is such a perfect atmospheric choice here.
Oh, absolutely.
The fading of the light just perfectly mirrors the moral ambiguity of all these people arriving. I mean, these are individuals who operate strictly in the shadows, even when they're standing in plain sight demanding your attention.
Let's know about who is actually showing up to this inn, because it is essentially a masterclass in psychological warfare and intimidation. So picture this. You are standing in the courtyard of this inn, the autumn wind is howling, and you watch the heavy hitters of the martial world descend.
The tension must be incredible.
Oh, it's palpable. So first to arrive is the Chifa gang, the red hair gang. 9 strange men walking in perfect, eerie synchronization. Very. They're wearing short yellow hemp shirts, hemp shoes. They all have this large gold ring hanging from their left ear, and their hair is completely red, just falling over their shoulders like fire. And Gulong describes them walking almost like zombies.
Right. No expression. Shoulders and knees completely stiff.
Yes. What is up with that stiffness?
Well, that stiffness isn't a lack of agility. It's actually a terrifying display of suppressed energy. It tells the onlookers that they are so disciplined, so completely unified as this deadly force, that they don't even need to move naturally anymore. They're essentially a single organism.
Wow. And then they leave their calling card, which is just Wild. One of the red-haired men casually takes the heavy gold ring from his ear and, with just a flick of his wrist, embeds it directly into the solid stone wall next to the inn's doors.
We really need to break down the mechanics of that action because it's not just some parlor trick.
No, it defies physics.
Yes, exactly. Gold is a relatively soft metal. Stone is incredibly hard and brittle. So to force a soft metal into a hard surface without the gold bending or flattening or just shattering the stone into irregular pieces,
It seems impossible.
it requires an unbelievable, micro-precise mastery of physical force and internal energy. What they would call ki in this world. It's a physical impossibility turned into a casual gesture. It's an announcement that basically says, the normal rules of physics do not apply to us, so neither do your rules.
That is so intimidating. And right after them, the courtyard shakes. 8 men on horseback just gallop past. This is the Guido gang, the Fast Saber gang.
And they don't even stop to introduce themselves, do they?
Not at all. As they ride past the inn at full speed, they simultaneously draw and throw 8 snow-white steel blades. The blades fly through the air and pin themselves perfectly, side by side, deep into the massive wooden flagpole outside the inn.
That's amazing.
And the horses just disappear into the twilight, leaving those 8 blades vibrating in the wood, humming in the wind.
It's pure theatricality, but it serves such a vital purpose. They are claiming their space in the hierarchy before they even walk through the front door.
Right.
They are establishing that their speed and synchronization are unmatched. It's a psychological, preemptive strike against everyone else in the room.
But wait, it gets even more absurd. Next, this absolute giant of a man rides up on a pure white horse. He's shirtless in the freezing wind, muscles like forged iron.
Naturally.
Right. He stops, dismounts in total silence, walks over to his horse, grabs it by its legs, and with a thunderous roar, he physically lifts the living, struggling horse over his head and heaves it up onto the roof of the inn.
That is such a brilliant, surreal image.
It's crazy. And then he just turns and walks inside, leaving this beautiful white horse standing alone on the roof against the darkening sky.
And you have to ask, why do that? Because raw strength alone is boring. Raw strength combined with absolute unpredictability is terrifying.
Yeah, who wants to mess with a guy like that?
Exactly. Who wants to fight a man who decides, on a whim, to bench press a horse onto a roof? He is signaling that he is utterly unhinged and boundlessly powerful.
It really reminds me of the most high-stakes, terrifying poker game imaginable. But instead of throwing chips into the pot to buy in, everyone is pulling out their deadliest weapons, their most horrifying displays of power, and slamming them on the table before a single card is even dealt.
An arms race of pure intimidation.
Exactly. And finally, you have the money. Zhu Dashao from the Wanjin Hall. He doesn't throw blades or lift horses. He arrives in a ridiculously luxurious carriage drawn by 6 matched horses.
Of course he does.
And he steps out, pale, sickly, coughing into a silk handkerchief, totally breathless after walking just a few steps. But directly behind him is his shadow.
The bodyguard.
Yes, a tall, impossibly thin man in black with deeply sunken eyes. A bodyguard who moves without making a single sound, carrying a pair of rare, viciously curved swords.
And that contrast is exactly the point Gulong is making. Zhu Dashao's frailty actually highlights his wealth and power.
Because he can buy the danger?
Right. He is so powerful, he doesn't need to be strong. He can just buy the deadliest shadow in the world to be strong for him. So, you have raw energy, speed, brute strength, and infinite wealth, all gathered in one single room. And the obvious question is, why?
Right. What could possibly force these deeply paranoid, incredibly dangerous men to gather in a single inn and posture like this?
What is the prize?
They are here to bid on a stolen diagram. And we aren't talking about a map to buried treasure either. This is the architectural blueprint detailing exactly how to forge the ultimate, most feared hidden weapon in existence, the Peacock Plume.
And the lore surrounding this specific weapon is absolutely essential to understanding the psychology of everything that happens next.
Oh, definitely. Tell them what it looks like.
Well, the Peacock Plume isn't a sword or a spear. It is described as this intricate, handheld golden cylinder. When the trigger is pressed, it releases an overwhelming, completely unavoidable barrage of hidden darts.
Which is deadly enough, but...
But the true genius of it, and the horror of it really, is its visual design.
Yeah, the name itself, the Peacock Plume, it sounds so elegant, you know? Like a piece of jewelry.
Precisely. When the weapon fires, the deployment of the darts and the mechanisms is said to catch the light in a way that is breathtakingly beautiful. It literally looks like a radiant peacock suddenly opening its tail feathers in this massive burst of iridescent color.
Wow.
It is so brilliant, so hypnotizing, that the victim is momentarily entranced by its sheer beauty. And in that split second of human awe, while they are just admiring the light, they are killed. It is a weapon that weaponizes human appreciation for beauty.
That is deeply sinister. It doesn't just attack your body, it, like, hacks your brain's aesthetic response. You literally die because you can't look away from something beautiful. And these men at the inn who already command armies and possess all these deadly skills, they are willing to bankrupt their syndicates to get the blueprints for this thing.
Because in their world, possessing the Peacock Plume isn't just about having a tool to win a fight. It's about achieving absolute, unquestionable deterrence. If you have the blueprint, you can build the weapon. If you have the weapon, no one will ever dare attack you. It's the exact martial arts equivalent of acquiring a nuclear code.
The ultimate trump card.
Exactly. The mere idea of this weapon, the psychological pull of having ultimate unchallenged power, is completely irresistible to them. It just overrides all their natural caution.
So Gongsun Jing, our corrupt Azure Dragon Society branch leader who is hosting this auction, gathers these titans. They've brought immense, staggering wealth, like chests of gold leaves, strings of flawless pearls, stacks of fresh silver notes.
They are ready to buy.
They are staring each other down, ready to kill, but first they demand to see the merchandise. So Gongsun Jing leads them down into the bowels of the inn through a heavily guarded subterranean tunnel.
And he's boasting the whole way down.
Oh, he is so proud of himself. He explains that he has rigged this tunnel with 13 deadly consecutive traps. Poison gas, hidden crossbows, collapsing floors, acid pits. He proudly tells these gang leaders that maybe, just maybe, 7 people in the entire world could possess the skill to bypass these traps alive.
Which is a very deliberate move on his part. He is building the psychological value of the item. By showing them how impossible it is to steal, he is proving how incredibly valuable it is.
Totally. So they finally reach the end of the gauntlet. A massive, solid stone room. In the center is a heavy iron chest. Gongsun Jing unlocks it with his complex key. Inside is a smaller, intricately locked iron chest. He unlocks that.
The tension in the room must be suffocating at this point.
Oh, you can feel it. These killers are holding their breath, waiting to see the nuclear code. He opens the final lid, and it's completely empty.
The tension doesn't just deflate, it just shatters into absolute absurdity.
It's so funny, but also brilliant. Inside this incredibly heavily guarded, multi-locked chest, sitting at the end of 13 inescapable death traps, is just a single, neatly folded piece of paper.
I love this part.
Gongsun Jing unfolds it, and written on it in elegant calligraphy is a simple note. It says, "Thank you, you are a good person."
And this single piece of paper radically pivots the entire universe Gulong has just built for us. Up until this exact moment, everything was about brute force, intimidation, and raw martial supremacy.
Right, the horses, the blades, the gold ring.
Exactly. We had horses being lifted onto roofs. But that politely written note proves that all of that physical posturing was entirely useless. The ultimate weapon, the blueprint for absolute power, has been stolen right from under the nose of the most dangerous syndicate in the world.
And it wasn't stolen by a stronger fighter.
No, it was stolen by a superior mind.
It is the ultimate heist. The thief bypassed the 13 traps without triggering them, opened the unpickable locks, took the prize, and left a sarcastic thank you note. They didn't use an army. They used pure, unadulterated cunning. Which brings us perfectly to the protagonist of this tale, a man who wanders right into this absolute mess, Bai Yujing.
Bai Yujing is such a fascinating study in contradictions.
Let's look at how he's introduced. So, he's a wandering swordsman. He carries a legendary weapon known as the Longevity Sword. But his physical description is so specific.
Oolong gives us a lot of clues here.
He does. He's riding a horse with an old, battered, really uncomfortable saddle. Yeah. His boots are worn out at the heels, and the scabbard of his legendary world-famous sword is incredibly old, frayed, and wrapped in cheap, worn leather. But his clothes are tailored, immaculate, and brand new.
And that detail is just a brilliant piece of characterization. It immediately tells you about his internal priorities.
How so?
Well, the old saddle, the worn boots, the battered scabbard, these tell us he is a seasoned traveler and a pragmatist. He values function over form when it comes to the tools that actually keep him alive. The old scabbard protects the blade perfectly well, right? It doesn't need to be pretty.
Right, it just needs to work.
But the brand new, expensive clothes, That tells us he is fundamentally a romantic. He loves the experience of life. He wants to feel fresh, attractive, and present in the world. He's not some grim, self-flagellating ascetic killer. He actively enjoys the aesthetic pleasures of existence.
He really does. He's a guy who loves a good drink, enjoys reciting beautiful poetry, and clearly cares about how he looks. I mean, he even named his legendary sword after a line by the famous poet Li Bai. The line is, "The immortal caresses my head, binding my hair to grant me longevity."
It's very poetic.
Right. He's a poet with a deadly blade. And of course, because he's a romantic who loves beauty, he is incredibly susceptible to beautiful women, which is exactly how he walks right into a trap.
As romantics so often do in these narratives, their appreciation for beauty becomes their primary vulnerability.
So, Bai Yujing is traveling down a muddy road in the pouring rain. He crosses paths with a carriage that is broken down, and inside this carriage is Yuan Zixia.
Ah, the damsel.
Yes, she is stunningly beautiful, seemingly innocent, and she claims to be a helpless girl fleeing a terrifying arranged marriage to a cruel, rich old man. She invites Bai Yujing into her dry carriage to escape the rain. They share a cup of wine, they recite some poetry together.
And she knows exactly which poems he likes, of course.
Of course she does. And she immediately, tearfully appeals to him for protection.
Now, in the grand tradition of these stories, this is the classic trope. The wandering, highly capable hero and the helpless damsel in distress. It's the inciting incident for 1,000 adventures.
Right, but wait. I have to pause here and push back on our brilliant, seasoned hero, Bai Yujing. I mean, come on. Isn't it painfully, blindingly obvious that she is playing him?
It seems that way to us, sure.
Think about it. He's a veteran of the deadliest martial world imaginable. He knows everyone is out to kill everyone. And suddenly, a beautiful woman with a broken-down carriage perfectly intersects his path in the rain, knows his favorite poetry, acts incredibly helpless, and begs the famous wielder of the longevity sword to save her.
It's a lot of coincidences.
It's too many. She is using his own ego, his ingrained sense of chivalry, and his reputation against him. How does a survivor like him not see the giant glowing red flags?
That is a completely fair critique, and it really cuts to the heart of his psychology. But it's not necessarily that Bai Yujing is blind to the red flags. In fact, he even tells her during that carriage ride that in his experience, the things you see are never as beautiful as the things you hear about.
So he knows she might be trouble.
He knows the world is dark and deceptive. His fatal flaw isn't stupidity. His fatal flaw is his pride and his deeply romanticized self-image.
Wait, so you're saying he, wants to be fooled?
Absolutely. Think about the reality of his life. He is a seasoned wanderer. He sleeps in the dirt. He fights for his life. He has no permanent home and likely no true friends. He is profoundly lonely.
Oh, that makes sense.
When Yuan Zixia looks at him with those wide eyes full of admiration and fear, she isn't just asking for physical help. She is validating his entire identity. She is saying, you are the great hero, you are strong, you are noble. He wants to be the savior. When she offers him a chance to step into this classic romantic narrative, he eagerly takes the bait because it feeds his ego and cures his loneliness, even if only for an afternoon. She is selling him a beautiful illusion, and he is a willing, desperate buyer.
Wow. So it's a willing suspension of his own survival instincts just to feel like a hero.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Well, that beautiful illusion shatters pretty violently soon after.
It usually does.
They end up taking shelter at an inn, a different one from before, and suddenly the doors burst open. And who walks in? Every single one of those terrifying gang leaders from the Winding Cloud auction.
The whole crew.
The red-haired giants, the fast saber riders, the sickly rich man. They have tracked them down. Why? Because word has leaked out that the thief who stole the peacock diagram is a beautiful young woman, and she's currently being protected by the famous Bai Yujing. The trap is fully closed around him.
What follows is an absolute masterclass in chaos, paranoia, and betrayal. Let's track how fast this devolves. First, Gong Soon-jing, the guy who hosted the auction and supposedly lost the diagram, is there. But wait, he fakes his own brutal death.
It's such a wild move.
He orchestrates a scene where it looks like he's murdered, and he physically hides inside a wooden coffin to escape the immediate wrath of the buyers, planning to pop out later and hunt Yuan Zixia down himself.
It's cowardice masquerading as strategy.
Then you have Feng Longsheng, also known as Zhao Feng. He's a really interesting character. He's a one-armed man who replaces his missing hand with a deadly iron hook. But initially, he is presented as Bai Yujing's drinking buddy.
Right, the loyal friend.
Yeah, the loyal friend who literally sits by the door and watches Bai Yujing's back while he sleeps.
The one person in the room Bai Yujing actually trusts.
Exactly. But the moment things go sideways, Xiaofeng reveals his true colors. He is actually a hidden branch leader of the Azure Dragon Society himself. While Bai Yujing's guard is down, trusting his friend, Xiaofeng strikes. He uses a highly specialized acupoint technique to completely paralyze Bai Yujing.
Let's clarify that for the listener, because acupoint technique sounds almost mystical, but it's very specific.
Yeah, break that down.
In this universe, it's a highly technical martial art. Think of the human body's nervous system like a complex electrical grid. An acupoint strike is like a hacker knowing exactly which specific junction box to hit with a precise surge of force to basically short-circuit the entire grid.
Oh, wow.
It instantly paralyzes the muscles without necessarily killing the victim. It literally leaves you a prisoner in your own body.
So Bai Yujing is frozen on the floor, perfectly conscious, while his best friend gloats over him. Xiaofeng explains his own tragedy, how he was forced into the Azure Dragon Society, given a choice between joining their ranks or being put in a coffin.
A very common origin story in this world.
Right. And he thinks he has finally won the game. He believes the ultimate prize, the stolen Peacock diagram, is hidden inside the hilt of Bai Yujing's legendary longevity sword.
And here we witness the ultimate fatal irony of greed.
Yes. Xiaofeng, trembling with excitement, picks up the longevity sword. He gleefully twists and unscrews the hilt, fully expecting a rolled-up piece of paper detailing the ultimate weapon to fall out.
But that's not what happens.
Instead, a hidden mechanical spring releases, and a barrage of deeply poisoned needles shoots out directly into his face and eyes. Xiaofeng screams, drops the sword, and dies in horrific agony, killed by the very object he coveted. And Bai Yujing just lies there, paralyzed on the floor, watching the whole thing happen.
It's a brilliant subversion of the reader's expectations. I mean, the longevity sword is built up as this symbol of martial purity, right? The weapon of a noble romantic poet.
Yeah, you don't expect it to be booby-trapped.
Exactly. But it actually houses a dirty, hidden trap in its handle. It shows that beneath Bai Yujing's romantic exterior, he's a survivor who is pragmatic enough to fight dirty when cornered. But more importantly, it highlights the overarching theme.
Which is?
The real danger wasn't the gleaming blade of the sword, it was the hidden mechanism inside. Just like the real danger in this room isn't the open hostility of the gangs, it's the hidden motives of the people around them.
Meanwhile, outside in the courtyard, it's a total bloodbath. The rival gang leaders, the Kudao gang, the Chifa gang, the bodyguards of the Wanjin Hall, they are literally slaughtering each other.
Because they think the diagram is out there.
They form rapid alliances, break them 3 minutes later, and just hack each other to pieces in the mud. Then, the real heavy hitter arrives to clean up the mess, Wei Tianning.
Now, Wei Tianning is a genuinely terrifying figure. He is a high-ranking, brutal enforcer for the Azure Dragon Society, known across the land as the Jade Saber.
He strolls into the inn, steps over the bodies, and casually reveals this grand conspiracy. He announces that he is actually working with the damsel in distress, Yuan Zixia.
The plot twists back on itself yet again.
It's dizzying. Wei explains the whole scam. Yes, Yuan Zixia stole the diagram from the Wind and Cloud Inn. But the diagram she stole was a fake from the very start.
A total fabrication.
Wei and Yuan set the whole thing up. They orchestrated the auction, allowed it to be stolen, and then purposefully leaked Yuan Zixia's location to the underworld.
And why do that?
So that all these incredibly wealthy, powerful gang leaders would converge on this single inn, let their paranoia and greed take over, kill each other, and leave their massive fortunes behind for Wei and Yuan to simply collect.
It's a breathtakingly elaborate scheme, and it's entirely designed to weaponize the psychological flaws of these powerful men.
Right.
Wei didn't need to defeat their armies in combat. He just needed to give their leaders a reason to destroy each other. He just leveraged their greed.
It's the perfect crime. But wait, we aren't done?
Never done in Gulong's world.
Just when Wei Tianning is gloating, thinking he and Yuan Zixia are about to walk away as the richest, most powerful people in the martial world, Yuan Zixia turns around and betrays him.
A double cross.
She hands him the supposed scroll containing the diagram, but as he reaches for it, completely off guard because he thinks she's his partner, Bai Yujing, who has finally managed to use his internal energy to break through that acupoint paralysis, lunges forward. In a single flash of silver light, Bai Yujing's sword severs both of Wei Tianning's hands.
And this brings us to the ultimate, brilliant, dizzying reveal of the story. The narrative has layered deception upon deception until we, the audience, and the characters themselves have absolutely no idea what is true anymore.
None.
But as Wei Tianning bleeds out on the floor, the absolute truth is finally laid bare.
Yes, because Yuan Zixia is not a runaway bride. She is not just a clever, independent thief working a scam with an enforcer either. Yuan Zixia's true title is the Red Flag Junior of the Azure Dragon Society.
Which, to translate into modern organizational terms, basically means she is a highly lethal, deeply embedded internal affairs agent. She reports directly and only to the mysterious big boss of the entire syndicate.
Exactly. She wasn't running from the syndicate. She is the syndicate. The big boss knew Gong Sunjing was entirely corrupt. He knew Wei Tianying was secretly gambling away syndicate funds. He knew Xiao Fang was embezzling money and plotting a coup.
So the boss sent Yuan Zixia to clean house.
She orchestrated this entire chaotic night to gather all the corrupt branch leaders and all the rival, troublesome gang leaders into one single room and just let them wipe each other off the map. There was never a peacock diagram. The whole thing was psychological bait, a piece of cheese on an incredibly deadly mousetrap.
And this is where we reach the absolute core takeaway of this narrative. The story is titled The Longevity Sword, right?
Yeah.
So the entire time you are led to believe that Bai Yujing's incredible weapon, or maybe the hidden trap inside it, is the focal point of the power dynamics. But Gulong is playing this magnificent trick on the reader.
Oh, big time.
When Bai Yujing finally understands the full scope of Yuan Zixia's manipulation, he realizes something profound. Her actual physical martial arts skills are minimal. She doesn't have a legendary sword. She doesn't have the chi to embed gold in stone. She doesn't have an army.
So what does this all mean? It means the true first weapon in Gulong's universe isn't the razor-sharp longevity sword. It is Yuan Zixia's smile.
A smile that perfectly conveys vulnerability, innocence, and deep admiration. It is the absolute perfect camouflage for a brilliant, ruthless, tactical mind.
Right.
With nothing but a smile, she conquered the legendary wielder of the longevity sword, systematically dismantled rival gangs, and executed corrupt, powerful syndicate leaders without ever lifting a blade herself. She used their own egos to dig their graves.
I absolutely love this concept. To use an analogy that fits our modern world, think about bank security. You can spend $10 million building a titanium vault door. You can have retina scanners, laser grids, armed guards.
All the hardware.
The gang leaders in our story, they are like brute force robbers trying to drill through that titanium door. They are using massive power, heavy machinery, throwing themselves at the wall.
And Bai Yujing's longevity sword is like a highly sophisticated internal defense system, right? A countermeasure designed to physically eliminate the robbers once they breach the lobby.
Exactly. But Yuan Zixia, she doesn't even look at the vault door. She is the ultimate social engineer. She puts on a nice outfit, walks right into the bank lobby, smiles warmly at the head security guard, and tells him she's the new auditor. She forgot her badge, and she's going to get fired if she doesn't get into the vault right now.
And the guard just opens it.
Yes. Wanting to be the hero, wanting to help this stressed, beautiful woman, he just types in the code and opens the vault for her. A smile completely bypasses all the physical security protocols because it exploits human empathy, the male ego, and our inherent desire to be helpful. It conquers the human heart directly, rendering the $1 million titanium vault door or the legendary sword completely irrelevant.
That analogy hits it perfectly. It explains the exact mechanism of her power. Golong is arguing that human psychology is the ultimate final battlefield. A physical weapon is only an extension of the mind wielding it. And a mind that deeply understands the desires, the blind spots, and the weaknesses of others is the most devastating weapon of all.
This idea that a weapon is only as good as the mind wielding it actually brings us to the flip side of the coin. Because if Yuan Zixia showed us how someone can use a smile, an intangible psychological trick, as a weapon to destroy people, what happens when a person is trapped by the psychological weight of a physical weapon?
That's a great question.
Let's move into the second part of our deep dive, exploring the story of the Peacock Plume. Gulong takes us from a story about deception to a story about the heavy, crushing burden of violence.
We shift our focus to the people who are actually forced to be the mechanisms of that violence.
We are immediately dropped into the middle of an assassination attempt. The target is a man named Bailey Changqing. He is known as the Liaodong hero.
And he's not a bad guy, right?
No, not at all. He's not a villain. He actually runs a massive escort agency and is currently trying to unite all the major regional agencies to protect merchants and make the roads safer from bandits. He's a fundamentally good guy trying to bring order to chaos.
Naturally, he has a target on his back.
Exactly. The people sent to kill him are a team of 5 elite assassins from a group called July 15th.
And just to tie the universe together for you listening, July 15th is revealed to be yet another highly specialized sub-branch of the Azure Dragon Society.
They are everywhere.
The Society's reach is truly everywhere, but these aren't your average thugs or street fighters. These are highly trained, completely compartmentalized executioners.
The specific details of this team are intense. You have Gao Li. He is a tall, silent man who wields twin silver spears that he keeps hidden under a wide, sweeping robe.
Yeah.
You have Dingan, who operates in plain sight. He uses a small, lethally sharp, curved knife, but he disguises himself as a lowly street vendor cutting and selling water chestnuts.
Great cover.
There is Tang Ye, a massively strong, brooding man who carries a zanmado, which is this massive, heavy horse-chopping blade hidden inside a simple porter's carrying pole. There's a man named Ma Bian, whose very name translates to horsewhip, and his steel-tipped whip is practically an extension of his arm.
And the fifth.
And finally, there is a young, quiet man known only as Zhao Wu, who hides an incredibly fast, deadly sword inside his own carrying pole.
What really stands out to me about this setup is the complete lack of individual identity. They are defined entirely by the weapons they carry and the roles they play.
It's the absolute chilling precision of it all. I mean, this isn't a brawl in a tavern. It's a military execution protocol. Can you break down the mechanics of this hit? Because the text lays it out like a surgical procedure.
Certainly. This operation has been planned down to the millisecond. They have physically rehearsed this specific street assassination over 60 times.
60 times?
The trigger is almost imperceptible. A fake blind fortune teller sitting on the corner simply raises his wooden sign. The moment that sign goes up, the execution unfolds in 6 inescapable steps.
Okay, what's step 1?
Step 1. Dingan, the vendor, flicks a hidden projectile to spook Bailey Changking's lead horse. Step 2. Mabian simultaneously drives a heavy wooden cart directly into the middle of the street, physically isolating Bailey from his trailing bodyguards.
So he's cut off.
Right. Step 3. Tang Yi steps forward and swings his massive blade, not at the man, but to chop off the horse's front legs, bringing the target crashing to the ground.
Brutal.
Steps 4 and 5. Gao Li and Xiao Wu strike simultaneously from the left and right flanks, sealing off any escape. Step 6. Dingan strikes from behind with his curved knife to finish the job. And finally, they ignite explosives hidden inside the wooden cart to blow up the street, creating a wall of fire and smoke to cover their escape.
And Go Long notes that all of this, all 6 steps, the strikes, the explosion, is designed to happen in the time it takes a normal person to blink 4 times.
4 blinks. It's not a fight, it's a machine. And that is the deep psychological point Gelong is making here about the true nature of being an assassin.
The toll it takes.
Exactly. To perform at this level of synchronized, flawless violence, these 5 men have to be entirely stripped of their humanity. They can no longer afford to be men with thoughts, doubts, or feelings. They must become unthinking gears in a murder machine.
And they aren't allowed to have friends, right?
The text is very explicit about their conditioning. In July 15, they're strictly forbidden to have friends. They do not know each other's real names or backgrounds. They exist only in the moment the order is given. Because friendship, empathy, or moral hesitation softens the heart. And their hearts must be as cold and hard as the steel they are holding.
Which makes the twist in this scene so incredibly jarring. The hit begins exactly as planned. The sign goes up, the horse is spooked, the cart blocks the path, the target is isolated. Tang Yi swings his massive blade to bring the horse down.
A symphony of violence.
It really is. But then step 4 fails. Zhao Wu, the young, quiet assassin, draws his fast sword. But instead of plunging it into the target, Bailey Chengqing, Zhao Wu pivots. With lightning speed, he stabs his own partner, the massive Tang Ye, right in the back.
Whoa!
He deliberately, violently sabotages the entire hit to save the target's life.
It's a complete catastrophic system failure of the murder machine, caused by a sudden, violent resurgence of human morality.
But wait, why? I mean, we just established these guys are brainwashed, conditioned gears in a machine. Why does an elite assassin suddenly grow a conscience in the middle of a strike?
Because Zhao Wu knows who Bailey Chongqing is. He knows the target is a genuinely good man dedicating his life to making the roads safer for innocent people.
So he just can't do it.
In that split second, the human soul inside the machine hits its breaking point. Xiao Wu decides that regardless of his orders, regardless of the consequences from the Azure Dragon Society, he simply cannot be the instrument that extinguishes a good man's life. It's a profound moment of agency.
And this act of rebellion creates a massive psychological ripple effect right there in the street. Gao Li, the man with the twin silver spears, is supposed to strike from the other side. He sees Zhao Wu betray the team. He sees Zhao Wu saving Bai Li. And Gao Li freezes.
Because of his past.
Yes, because Gao Li realizes something the Syndicate didn't know. Years ago, before Gao Li was an assassin, he was hunting for wild ginseng in the freezing, brutal mountains of Liaodong. He was starving, freezing to death. And it was Bailey Chen King who found him, fed him, and saved his life.
So Gao Li is instantly caught in the most agonizing moral dilemma imaginable. His conditioning, his entire identity as a July 15 assassin, demands that he instantly execute the traitor Zhao Wu and finish the mission.
That's his programming.
But his humanity remembers the debt of a life saved. The machine tells him to kill, but the man remembers what it means to live.
What a moment. I mean, does he follow the programming or does he honor the debt?
He chooses his humanity. He lowers his spears. He turns his back on the Syndicate. And in doing so, he and Zhao Wu instantly become hunted men. They are now rogue assassins, marked for a gruesome death by the most powerful, far-reaching organization in the world.
This thrusts us into a deeply emotional part of the story. Gao Li and Zhao Wu are on the run. They are literally bounding over rooftops in the moonlight, fleeing the city. And as they run, they start talking.
They finally connect as human beings.
Yeah, they bond over their shared rebellion, but more deeply over their shared rootlessness. These are men who have killed for a living, who have slept with one eye open for years. They are apex predators, but they're incredibly fragile because they desperately, fundamentally long for a home. They just want a place to be without looking over their shoulder.
And in that moment of profound vulnerability, Gao Li decides to share his deepest, most guarded secret with his new friend. He takes Zhao Wu far out into the countryside, to his hidden sanctuary.
Now, stop and think about this. If you're listening and you know Gao Li is a hardened, lethal, twin spear-wielding assassin, what kind of life do you expect him to have hidden away?
You'd probably expect a stash of stolen gold.
Or an armory of exotic weapons. Or maybe a glamorous, highly dangerous femme fatale waiting for him. A partner in crime to scheme with. But who is waiting at the sanctuary? Who is Shuang Shuang?
Shuang Shuang shatters every single expectation. She lives in a small, secluded, idyllic cabin surrounded by a meticulously kept flower garden. But physically, she is severely deformed.
It's quite shocking.
Galan's text is unflinching. It describes her face as looking like a poorly made, twisted, misshapen mask. Her arms and legs are as thin and fragile as a sickly child's. She can barely move without assistance. And perhaps most significantly to the psychological landscape of the story, she is completely, entirely blind.
But when Gao Li walks through that door, the way he treats her is staggering. It's like she is an empress.
It's true devotion.
He calls her his princess. His flawless beauty. He takes the blood money, the gold he earns from assassinations, and he pours it out onto her bed just so she can feel the weight of it. He dotes on her with a gentleness and a tenderness that is almost jarring when you remember that 2 hours ago, he was a silent gear in a murder machine.
And the wildest part of this dynamic isn't just his devotion, it's her attitude.
Right. She is immensely, overwhelmingly confident. She banters with him, she flirts shamelessly, she teases him. She genuinely, deeply believes she is the most beautiful, desired woman in the entire world.
This dynamic is arguably the most profound psychological exploration in the entire text. We have to dive deep into the why here. Why does a hardened killer, a man who commands fear and death, tie his entire soul to this fragile, blind girl?
Seriously, explain the mechanics of this codependency. How does she anchor a monster?
Think about Gao Li's daily reality. It is a nightmare. It is a world of blood, paranoia, betrayal, and death. He's a monster in the eyes of the world, and more importantly, he knows he is a monster.
He carries that guilt.
Every time he looks at a normal person, he sees the fear in their eyes. He sees a reflection of his own sins. But Shuang Shuang cannot see his hands covered in blood. She cannot see the hard, cold, dead eyes of a killer. Before her parents died, they realized the cruelty of the world, and they told her every single day that she was the most beautiful girl alive to protect her fragile feelings.
Wow.
When Gao Li found her, he decided to maintain and fiercely protect that illusion.
Okay, so he protects her illusion, but what does she give him?
She gives him the only mirror he can stand to look into. Because she firmly believes she is a beautiful princess, and because Gao Li treats her with perfect, chivalrous devotion, the reflection she casts back at him is not a murderer. She reflects back to him an image of himself as a good, loving, noble prince.
The unblemished mirror.
Exactly. She is the unblemished mirror. It is a beautiful, entirely necessary shared delusion. Her physical blindness is, ironically, her greatest fortune. It shields her from the cruel reality of her own physical reflection, allowing her to be completely confident and joyful.
And he needs that joy.
And her pure, untainted joy is the only thing that allows a man who lives in the suffocating darkness of murder to feel like a human being. If you take her away, he is instantly consumed by the darkness of his own guilt.
That is heartbreakingly beautiful. You could argue it's deeply unhealthy codependency, but in their world, it's not about mental health. It's about raw survival. He needs her pure innocence to survive his own overwhelming guilt. But their peaceful sanctuary, this little bubble of illusion, holds another massive secret.
The layers of this specific location just keep peeling back.
While they are resting at the sanctuary, Zhao Wu is looking around. He notices an old, one-armed man out in the yard chopping firewood. Supposedly, this man is just an old mute servant known as Da Sheng, which translates to elephant, just a big old guy doing chores.
Nothing to see here.
But Zhao stands on the porch and watches him swing the axe. He watches the rhythm of the blade, the perfect transfer of weight, the absolute flawless precision of how this one-armed old man splits a log. And Zhao Wu, being an elite martial artist himself, instantly recognizes him.
Because it takes a true master to recognize the echoes of mastery in something as menial as chopping wood. A normal person just sees an old man working. Zhao Wu sees a symphony of biomechanics.
Zhao Wu realizes this old servant isn't a servant at all. He is Jin Kaijia, famously known across the martial world as the Great Thunder God.
A legend.
10 years ago, this man was universally recognized as the #1 martial artist in the entire world. He wielded a massive battle axe and was considered practically invincible.
And how did the invincible Great Thunder God lose his arm, lose his title, and end up chopping firewood in a hidden garden for a rogue assassin?
He fought a duel. He challenged the master of the Peacock Villa. And the master defeated him, taking his arm in the process, using the legendary hidden weapon we talked about at the very beginning, the Peacock Plume.
Now, pay close attention to Jin Kaijia's psychological state here, because it directly contrasts with everyone else in the story. You would naturally expect a man who is the absolute best in the world to be consumed with a toxic, burning bitterness.
Yeah, you'd think he'd be furious.
Right. He trained his whole life, reached the pinnacle, and was mutilated and beaten by a rich guy pressing a button on a gadget. Most men would dedicate their remaining life to revenge.
But he holds absolutely no grudge. It's wild. He tells Zhao Wu very calmly that a hidden weapon is still a weapon. It's a recognized part of the martial arts landscape. He says, "I lost fairly because my martial arts were not profound enough to dodge it."
Such a healthy perspective.
He accepts his catastrophic defeat with total grace. And he tells Zhao Wu he spends his days chopping wood, not as a punishment, but simply to train his remaining right arm to eventually be as strong and precise as the left arm he lost.
It is a profound demonstration of stoicism.
Yeah.
Jin Kaijia represents an unshakable internal core of self-worth. He doesn't blame the tool that beat him. He doesn't blame the universe. He accepts the reality of his defeat, strips away his ego, and focuses entirely on the only thing he can actually control, which is improving his remaining self. He is at peace.
But that scene, that revelation of the Thunder God, is just the setup for the final massive bombshell of our deep dive. The old man, Jin Kaijia, finishes chopping his wood, looks at Zhao Wu, and recognizes the young man's martial arts stance too.
The truth comes out.
And the ultimate truth is forced out into the open. Zhao Wu, the young, quiet, supposedly nameless assassin who just sabotaged a hit to save a good man, is actually named Qifeng Wu. He is the young master of the Peacock Villa.
He is the sole heir to the very weapon that destroyed Jin Kaijia's arm. He is the prince of the most feared family in the martial world.
Yes, the heir to the Peacock Plume, the nuclear weapon everyone in the first story was willing to slaughter each other to possess, is moonlighting as a lowly grunt for a syndicate of assassins.
It's such a shock.
It makes absolutely no sense on the surface. If you are the prince of a nuclear superpower, why are you digging trenches in the mud with criminals?
It makes no sense until you understand the devastating psychological burden of inheriting ultimate unearned power.
Okay, unpack that.
Qifeng Wu, our young Zhao Wu, finally confesses his internal torment to Gao Li. He admits that he fiercely, passionately hates the Peacock Plume. He despises it. Why? Because he feels that the entire world respects the weapon, not the man.
Ah, I see. It's the ultimate shadow to live in. It's imposter syndrome magnified to a lethal degree.
Precisely. Put yourself in his shoes. Imagine growing up knowing that every single person who smiles at you, everyone who defers to you, everyone who flatters you or fears you, is doing so not because you are smart, not because you are brave, and not because of any hard-earned skill you possess.
Right, they just want the weapon.
They're doing it simply because you hold the keys to a weapon of mass destruction. It completely and utterly invalidates your entire sense of self-worth. You are nothing but a fleshy pedestal for a golden cylinder.
That sounds miserable.
So what did he do? He ran away. He joined the brutal July 15th assassins under a fake name specifically to put himself in mortal danger. He wanted to earn his own scars. He needed to prove to himself that he could survive, that he could be a capable fighter and a moral person, entirely on his own merits, stepping completely out of the suffocating shadow of the Peacock Plume.
This connects everything in Gulong's universe so perfectly. It's a massive thematic sleight of hand. Throughout both of these stories, all the characters, and us as the audience, are totally obsessed with these legendary weapons. The longevity sword, the fast sabers, the peacock plume.
We get distracted by the shiny objects.
But the ultimate insight here brings us back to the core theme of human psychology. The peacock plume itself, if you strip away the myth, is mechanically just a piece of metal with some tightly wound springs and some poisoned darts. That's all it is.
But what it truly represents to the people who wield it and to the people who were terrified of it is confidence.
Right. And this raises the most important question of the text. The weapon gives the user a terrifying aura of invincibility. It gives them the absolute, unshakable confidence to stand tall against any enemy. And that visible confidence is what actually terrifies their opponents before the weapon is even fired.
But Zhao recognized the fatal flaw in that system. He realized that this confidence was entirely artificial. It was borrowed. It was leased from a tool.
The real tragedy of the martial world isn't the physical violence, is it?
Not at all. Gulong is showing us that the ultimate tragedy is that losing a physical weapon isn't what destroys a warrior. What destroys them is losing the confidence that the weapon provided.
Wow.
If you somehow steal the peacock plume from the master of the Peacock Villa, he might physically still be an incredible, capable fighter. But if he spent his entire life believing he cannot win without it, the moment it's gone, his spirit breaks. He will lose the fight in his mind before a single blow is struck. The ultimate tool eventually becomes the ultimate psychological crutch.
And that is exactly why Xiao was out there risking his life as an assassin. He was trying to build genuine internal confidence. He was trying to forge a core of self-worth that couldn't be stolen from an iron chest, couldn't be lost in a fight, and couldn't be dropped in the mud, unlike a physical diagram or a golden cylinder.
He wanted to be like Jin Kaijia. He wanted the strength to lose his weapon, lose his arm, and still know exactly who he was.
Let's bring all of this together. Think about the incredible journey we just took through these two stories. From the first tale, the longevity sword, we learned that a weapon isn't always forged of meteoritic steel.
Far from it.
Sometimes, a perfectly timed smile, a calculated manipulation of human empathy, ego, and desire is a far deadlier weapon than a blade. Yuan Zixia brought down a room full of monsters without unsheathing a sword.
And from the second tale, the Peacock Plume, we see that a physical weapon is often merely a physical manifestation of inner confidence.
Gulong is fundamentally telling us that the hardware doesn't matter. The swords, the darts, the poison, they are just set dressing. Tools don't win battles. Human psychology, our desperate capacity for love, our blinding vulnerability to greed, and the internal source of our confidence, that is what dictates victory or defeat.
It's a profound, necessary shift in perspective. True power isn't about what you hold in your hand. It's about what you hold in your mind and how well you understand the minds of the people standing across from you.
And for you listening, this is exactly why we do these deep dives. True information, true learning, isn't just memorizing the trivia of a story, like knowing who killed whom, what gang wore red hair, or what the Azure Dragon Society is.
That's just trivia.
Exactly. True knowledge is understanding the why behind human behavior, because human behavior, ego, fear, and desire haven't changed a single bit since Gulong wrote these stories, and they aren't going to change anytime soon.
The martial arts world we just explored is nothing more than an exaggerated, bloody mirror of our own daily lives. The struggles for status in the inn, the deceptions of a smile, the need for validation from an unblemished mirror, it's all happening around us every single day.
Which leaves me with a final provocative thought for you to mull over as you step back out into your own world today. We spent an hour talking deeply about weapons acting as crutches. I want you to think about the ultimate weapon or tool in your own life right now.
A very pertinent question.
Maybe it's a really impressive job title that automatically opens doors for you and makes people defer to you. Maybe it's a massive financial safety net that lets you take risks. Maybe it's a specific piece of technology or AI you rely on to do your heavy mental lifting, or a very specific polished persona you put on every time you walk into the office.
We all have our tools.
Is that tool actually empowering you to be a better, stronger version of yourself? Or is it secretly acting as a crutch, slowly, quietly undermining your confidence in your own raw, unfiltered human abilities? Ask yourself what would happen, and more importantly, who would you actually be if you had to face the world tomorrow without it?
That is a challenging, deeply necessary question to ask ourselves.
Thank you so much for exploring this incredible universe with us. Keep questioning the world around you, keep looking past the surface of the hardware, and we will catch you on the next deep dive. Take care.